All right, we want to welcome everyone here to Cottonwood Heights City Council Business Meeting. And this is April 21st, 2026. And I have asked our Administrative Director, Barbara Higgins, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, and tonight is our quarterly chance for our city council members to give their committee reports. And so we will start with Council Member Matt Holton, who is joining us remotely.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make mine quick since I'm remote, but I wanted to update residents on a couple things regarding Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District. As the district continues to work on ways in which it can keep costs down and try to keep a high level of service, they are also looking at various ways in which they can expand their service. So, one of the things that I want residents to be aware of is starting May 1st, 2026. You can actually hire Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District to pick up various items from your home as an additional charge. For instance, there is a base pickup for our area, which would be $20. If you wanted them to come pick up a old mattress, instead of trying to put it into your car, it would be an additional $20. So if you wanted to do just that, it would be a $40 pickup in total. Appliances that are Freon containing is $25 each. Appliances non-Freon, so that would be like a washer or dryer, would be $10, and tires would be $5 to $6. Having actually had a fridge picked up from my home recently by, I believe it was 1-800 Got Junk, I believe was the company. I spent near about $100 on paying them to come pick that up. In this instance, as a member of Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District, you would pay a total of $45. So it's a significant change or savings for members. So keep that in mind. Also, if a truck has come by and you forgot to put your bin out, if you want them to come back, it will be a $25 charge if you missed the pickup time. And then the last thing I will say is on Monday, we have a retreat for the district where we are going to be looking at longstanding policies again to keep costs down and services high for residents. So if folks have any input, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Council Member Holton. Council Member Highland.
Thank you. I was just in an emergency management meeting. It's one of the council liaison, the positions that I have. And right now, of course, we don't have any imminent threats, but you always think of emergency preparedness for a big earthquake. But there are so many other things that we have to prepare for, like flooding, not this year, but in 2023, we had to sandbag and prepare for that. And I just want to say that in this budget year, it's a real trade-off for us to think about what we're prepared for and what we're not. And I would say that our city is woefully underprepared to be able to reach residents in the event of an emergency. And even for us to start considering other emergencies that haven't even been on our radar, such as electromagnetic pulses that would wipe out all of our digital devices. Or I don't know if any of you have read recently that Anthropic, which is the AI company, the Claude is probably what you've heard from, has developed a model that has identified security vulnerabilities in almost every major system. So they brought together the bank leaders and Microsoft and Google and said, we know and we can know in hours security vulnerabilities. So Wall Street Journal recommended that every person, anybody who can hear me, you need to update all of your devices. You also need to be aware of any device you have that is hooked to the internet that is no longer supported with security updates, like an old Ring camera, or if you have a Windows 10 device, it is not supported. And so if it goes on the internet, and these security vulnerabilities will probably affect you, and it could wipe out your data or really important things, or more importantly, What they were saying is if the security vulnerabilities aren't addressed by big companies such as banks, you may not even know what's in your bank account. So these threats are real. This is what we want to be prepared for. And I hope that you would offer us grace as citizens for why we might need a little bit more money in our budget to be able to do things like that. And finally, I'll just take a point of personal privilege. And in the inauguration ceremony in January, when our newly elected officials were sworn in, I mentioned that I think we need to have a little bit more grace for ourselves and for one another. If you think about what's happened in our recent history, in 1998, the internet upended how we work. And 12 years later, in 2010, smartphones upended the way we work. And 13 years later, in 2023, AI has upended the way we work. And that is very difficult for humans to be able to integrate such huge changes in such a short period of time. Normally, technological innovations take 100 years to actually work through. Now, in that 25 years, we also had a financial crisis, second only to the Great Depression, and we had a pandemic. It is no wonder that we have some angst among us. And so what I would like to call for is to remember how difficult it has been to be human over the past few years, and that even that we would engage more in civil, thoughtful, respectful dialogue and have grace for one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Highland. Councilmember Newell.
I've got a couple of them. One committee I serve on is Health in the Heights. And right now, Health in the Heights has this adventure pass for our young students and here in our community. What this is a program that's put together by the Department of Natural Resources, where students can go out and get into nature. And it's actually a journal to actually take you through some pathways of things you can log in nature as you're out hiking or even just in your community walking around. It's a really nice program to get involved with. One of the other things we're working on in the Health in the Heights is an evaluation of the impacts on health for our young people. And that report will be coming out here really shortly. So I'm excited to be able to share that with you when it comes out. And there's been a lot of hard work that's gone behind that, taking data that's been national data as well as data from the state of Utah, and that'll be shared out to our residents. I also serve on the Canyon School Education Foundation. And with that foundation, we just had a gala where we gave out thousands and thousands of dollars for young people. They're all high school students. They all have to submit a story of their life on why they are in need of this scholarship. And we were able to give out, I believe it was seven $2,500 scholarships to students. And it's a great program. These students have shown a need. They also have done the work to improve themselves in their scholastic prowesses. And they are excited. They were so excited. I had a chance to meet all but one of them at the gala and actually talk to them for a while, as well as their parents. And it's an exciting thing for us. Also, one of the things that I don't know if, especially if we've got a lot of students here in the crowd, if the students are aware of the Unified Sports Program, and it involves our special ed students. And these students get to participate in sports, different types of sporting events, and it is a phenomenal thing to be a part of. And I get to volunteer there and be there while these students are out there having an opportunity to feel included in their schools and participate in sports that they may never otherwise get an opportunity. And it's a phenomenal program. I'm almost done. Also, coming up, there will be a fun run that will include a lot of our special education students. That'll come up in, I believe, June or July, if I've got it correct. But we're still working on that, and I'm on that committee. But also, I just wanted to have you keep in mind what Councilperson Highland had pointed out. This is a great time for us to think about our humanity. This is an opportunity for us to understand that we live in a shared village. And it is so important for us to be able to act and perform in that manner as we continue to move forward. We've got great things happening here in our city, and we're really excited about it. And it takes all of us to make this village thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And finally, Councilmember Burrell.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I think you've come to know that both youth development and sustainability and resiliency are at the top of my priority list. After a winter where we had a 7.7 average higher temperature from December through February, I am on high alert about what our future will be and can be. And so that brings me to some of the things that are absorbing my time in the last month in particular. And that has to do with the Utah Renewable Communities Program. You'll be able to read more about that if you haven't already made yourself aware of that. It's a program that we entered into in 2019 and that we have been on their board and there's been monthly meetings in all these years since to come up with a way that Utah can advance on the grid. So this is a scalable, not a voluntary, but a scalable opportunity to advance renewables. And it's something that I urge every citizen to look into. Again, it's called the Utah Renewable Communities. I've also been taking a deep dive, as we all have, related to our budget this year. I've been doing a lot of extra work and research on how we can best advance in our city, again, in a sustainable way with both financial sustainability and resiliency. I have a quick update about Summer Hills Park. The Ivory Homes is still technically in possession of that park. You might know it as Dover Hills Park. It's to the northeast of the Smith's Grocery Store in the corner of Bengal and 3500 East. And that park, we will soon, the city will be taking possession of the park. And so if you again wonder about the status of that park, it again in an agreement that we had made for the part of the parcel to be housing and part of it to be a park, it's still Ivory Homes is fulfilling their obligation to the city to have it landscaped and ready to be turned over to the city soon. I want to also acknowledge our youth City Council Mayor, Marianne Jensen, just last week. She was awarded the runner-up for the Sterling Scholar program, and congratulations to her. Oh, and another reminder, coming up on Saturday with the sapling sale, over here in the parking lot. I've been working with one of our residents, Helen McCarty, and she'll be tabling. So if you come by, you can talk to Helen about some of the best xeriscaping based on native plants and mulching. She's a wealth of knowledge, and is going to have all kind of information and some fun little gifts and things. And then over here on our right-hand side in this patio, also on Saturday morning, is going to be an event related to child abuse prevention. And so there, if you want to volunteer your time, you can come at 9 a.m. and help put pinwheels out. And this is a promotion that this organization is doing throughout the state of Utah. And Saturday is our Cottonwood Heights Day to support that. So all in all, I hope to see you on Saturday. Thanks.
Thank you. I have a short update also. An update on Cottonwood Heights Interfaith Coalition. The group met for the first time on April 16th. Rachel Keeney and Sue Protus will lead the coalition here in Cottonwood Heights. And if you want their contact information, please contact me. Their next meeting will be Thursday, May 21st at noon at the Whitmore Library. And as we are the city between the canyons and impacted by resort traffic, I set up a meeting in March with UDOT to discuss the new rough shoulder on the west side of Wasatch Boulevard. We need it to be smoother for bike safety, and we discussed signage and hopefully police officer assigned to direct ski traffic to the right on heavy snow days so that local traffic can flow in the main southbound lane. Councilmember Burrell and our police department joined me for this meeting. And I'll report briefly on boards I serve on. The Central Wasatch Commission, and in March, CWC organized a stakeholders meeting to discuss the ski priority bus Lane. And this program works for Sandy and could work for us, especially given that new shoulder on Wasatch Boulevard. And CWC offers up to $30,000 for police overtime for cities involved in this program. So it's something we'll be pursuing. And I serve as chair of the CWC Transportation Committee, so I will be following up with more information on that. I serve on the County Solid Waste Board, and new legislation in 2025 requires that when we take loads to the dump, that those loads be covered so that the trash does not blow out. And we're having problems with people obeying that, so I'll be coordinating with mayors through the Council of Mayors to get the word out through our county. I serve on the Unified Fire Authority Board, and 80% of our calls to UFA are medical. And Station 110 on Fort Union Boulevard is the busiest station, especially during the season that we just had, the ski season. And UFA invested in 48 new cardiac monitors that are connected to the hospitals for smoother transfer of care. And I went on a tour of the current UFA training center, which is cobbled together with surplus trailers. And UFA needs a real training center, which is built into their upcoming budget with no major increases due to a 10% reduction in each of their departments. I was also able to join the UFA Fire 101 last month, so I have a better understanding of how UFA operates. And we are the only city in the county not owning our own fire stations. And unfortunately, this leads to the Station 110 on Fort Union Boulevard that is so busy not having maintenance because the city, we don't do it, it's not our building. The county doesn't want it, so they don't do it. And so I'm working with the county for our city to take ownership of Station 110. I hope this year with some work from the county to give us funding to begin those overdue maintenance works. That is my quick report, but I wanted you to hear it all. Okay, now it is time for our citizen comments. And I just have a brief, if you want to make a comment, someone just handed in a card. You need to fill out a speaker comment card that are on that table and bring it to one of our staff. We are excited when we see so many participants here in our meetings. We're eager to hear you, whatever your comments are, and to be humane and kind in our consideration of all comments. And we ask that of you as well, that you be thoughtful and considerate in listening to one another, that you speak directly into the microphone and give us your name for our records, and that that we do not clap or make any other comments about someone speaking. So we just be polite. And with that, we will call, oh, we have a half an hour limit. We have an hour limit. Okay. And I think we'll be able to keep that because each of you are limited to 33 minutes. And the first one I saw was Karen Roylance, and now I've buried her, but I'm going to still call. She's right here. So go ahead. Karen will be our first.
Thank you, guys. This is very exciting. It's my first meeting to come to, and it's nice to be included and to understand and get more understanding of really what we're doing and how we can help and work as a team and be unified together so we know what's going on. So Karen Roylance is my name, and I wanted to talk about when the URC started coming around and awareness to some of us in the community. Most of us didn't know what it was or where it was or, you know, kind of what it was and what is the opt-out. And there were some concerns that came up that we just wanted to go over and see if we could get more information. We're looking at wanting to see the data. Like, is this something we want to continue to do? I know you have to vote on May 21st, and we're just excited about a good decision that we all can participate in. And so some of the things that came up were asking for the data. Is the program working? Could we get some information on how this renewable community is actually working and going, and is it beneficial? Is our money going to be used accordingly, or should we look at doing something different? The other thing was the EPA participant matter of 2.5 micrograms meter cubed was the government spend about the taxes and something, and so we really didn't see a big tax benefit for that money. I'm not sure exactly if we could get some more information on that, and then the health benefits and our air quality. I know that I personally don't drive and keep my emissions down when we have bad weather days and when it comes out. And so I feel like we all really do a good job at helping one another and helping our community. And to mandate something as an opt-in I would prefer to see an opt-out or a reverse, so an opt-in. So like I know what to buy and I research my things, and when I'm ready to purchase something, I purchase it. And that's kind of how I feel about this renewable program, is like we want to make sure that we can opt in and are people that aren't aware of it and having to pay to opt out. So those are just my thoughts, and I appreciate everyone's time, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Sherry Sadowski. All right, grabbed her next. And please excuse me if I say anyone's name wrong.
That's all right. I am here representing Brighton High School. I am the chairperson of the SEC. And we've had an ongoing conversation with the city, which we really appreciate, especially Representative Highland, who we've been working with. The roundabout is beautiful. It's been working beautiful. But we do have some issues with this crosswalk over here. And it is an ongoing thing. As we have meeting after meeting, it consistently comes up. It's a concern of the teachers. They've seen a lot of near misses with students. As a parent, I have witnessed near misses with students, particularly at that end. This isn't just about traffic congestion. It's about the safety of these students and trying to cross in a timely manner that also allows traffic, but also ensures their safety. There have been times when that traffic is backed up down to Fort Union and beyond. There have been times that I've been stopped at that stoplight that's past those apartments in just the traffic line, trying to get up the hill up to Brighton. And so I don't know what the perfect answer is, but I think it needs to be an ongoing thing that we are looking at and addressing, so that we don't want something tragic to happen than to have this be addressed appropriately. We have other people here that are going to address some other things, but I just wanted to say, from an SEC's point of view, where we represent a lot of people at Brighton, we have had students come to our meetings, we have had parents come to our meetings. It's a big concern that these students, that the cross pattern is addressed, and that they're kept as safe as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Melinda Rosevear.
Thank you for hearing us tonight. First of all, we want to thank Cottonwood Heights City for their continued support in the safety and well-being of the Brighton students. We recognize all that you do, and we're so grateful for that. We just also would like to clarify that this is not about the roundabout. We listened to the work meeting, and this is about the crosswalk at Butler Hills Drive. We would really like to see a timer go in on that. We have had many people comment that there have been near misses. I have myself and others have almost hit students when it's dark in the morning and you cannot see. If they don't push the button and they just jet across, then we have the problem with the congestion, where it's just one student trickling after another after another. We were told we could not have crossing guards by the district and the city. And so we feel like a good compromise would be to have a timer on that crosswalk to allow students to gather in groups and cross safely in groups. And although I know that teenagers will be teenagers and they can sometimes jut out, I think we have these crosswalks with walks or do not walks throughout the city as a safety precaution. And I think that is the safest route to go. So we would love and welcome any additional meetings with Suzanne and was it Chief Officer Russo? Is that who it was? I couldn't see on the meeting who that was saying he would like to meet with us.
So yes, we would definitely like to meet with you, and it would
Okay.
be Public Works Director Matt Ship and any
Okay,
other in
that's what it was.
his, and so we would like to come to an SEC meeting and specifically address this.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I know we have a lot of Brighton Hair students here tonight who are in support of this as well, and parents. And so thank you for your time and consideration.
Great, thank you. Next is Pat Passy.
Can't even see the podium, but there is a stool. There, isn't that wonderful? I'm Pat Passy, and I'm a parent guardian also who drives a student up to Brighton on many occasions. What you don't see is traffic backed up on Highland Drive, both coming from the south and coming from as far back as Fort Union north, trying to turn up Bengal Boulevard at 7:20 in the morning. It's about a 15 to 20-minute window where a lot of parents are dropping off students on the Butler Road over here so that the kids can use the crosswalk. And there's probably over 100, maybe as many as 200 students crossing every morning at that spot where they're kind of tag teaming each other. One person pushes the light and they start to cross the street, and then the next person pushes the light and they cross across the street, and then the next person. And so what's happening is the traffic is not getting a chance to get through. Now, we're not trying to be an impatient driver. We're bringing kids, but also there are youth, seniors driving cars there too, and they get impatient. But those walkers never have to stop because there's not a timer on that signal. And it seems like it would be a fairly, hopefully easy solution from Public Works if we could get a timer on that signal. We appreciate your attention to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Shannon Haley.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for all you guys do to contribute to Cottonwood Heights. I am here tonight to urge the council to vote yes on Utah Renewable Communities Program. And you've seen me here before, and I just want to emphasize that I'm not an overzealous citizen with a pet issue. This initiative didn't emerge from one party or one city or even one person. It has been built on years of bipartisan cooperation at the highest levels of our state government. The Community Renewable Energy Act passed with overwhelming Republican support in both chambers. This year, the legislature unanimously reaffirmed its commitment to the program, and Governor Cox signed off. And the Utah Public Service Commission ruled that, I quote, "The general consensus of all parties is that approval of this program is in the public interest." So from the State House to the governor's office to our state regulators, Utah leadership has spoken clearly. This program is sound, it's fiscally responsible, and it benefits our communities. Given this, I especially don't understand how you can take this choice away from Cottonwood Heights citizens. If this council votes no, you take the decision away, from all Cottonwood Heights residents entirely. The council will forfeit the opportunity for citizens to even choose whether to participate. I believe that the people of Cottonwood Heights deserve that choice, and we deserve the chance to be part of the program that has earned the trust of our governor, our legislator, and our regulators. Thank you.
Ken Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor and council people. I appreciate being here. I'm Ken Garner. I've been a resident since 2008. I'm a licensed professional electrical engineer for 33 years, and I've been working on the power grid. I just joined Taurus to help save our power grid. I've never seen what we're about to face. Your decision is not about opt-in and opt-out. It's about 25 years plus of basically the economy, health, and welfare of our citizens and our local power grid. I want to talk a minute about saving money. I believe that this will eventually save us money, not cost us money. The PSC, every year of my career, has actually forced the power company to hold down rate increases. So they are guardrails. There's a portion of the bill that's assets reassigned. The new law does not allow assets of the renewables to be paid for by the regular customers. Vice versa, it does not allow the renewable customers to pay for the shutdown of coal plants. The coal plant shutdown is going to happen. It's 2035 to 2050. 10 to 20 million to cut down a coal plant, but it's about 100 million to clean up the coal ash waste. That's going to come back. Those regulations are going to come back. There's escalation of fuel, transport, and labor. If we're part of the renewables, we don't have to pay for that. There's more volatility in renewable or regular rates right now than there's ever been. We're talking about 70% increase on a regular bill in the next 10 years. And I think that we're going to see increases on the renewable program too, but more like 20 to 30%. That means that we're going to actually see a rate reduction in comparison to the other. So why opt out and check the box? You can check the box yourself, but why? Well, first off, NERC says that they put us into the high-risk category just starting in 2028. That means any asset loss, like a power plant, major transmission line, our state's going to see rolling blackouts for the first time. So we need every kilowatt that we can actually design. We got to double the power grid in 7 to 8 years and triple it in 15 to 20. Think about the West, doubling every transmission line and all of that wasted land and all of those wasted resources. And transmission lines waste power by sending it. So we want to make the grid more resilient. Renewable tech can do it. Nothing else can. We got 5 years to build a gas plant. We got 6 to 8 years to build a coal plant. No one would do it. Operation Gigawatt would take 10 to 15 years. That's too late. We can do solar in 1 year. We can do storage in 2 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Dennis Magaru.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Dennis Magaro. I'm here to, number one, thank Councilman Holden for a timely response to me. I sent him an email on Thursday questioning the natural gas vehicles for the trash trucks. And he did respond in 1 day very nicely. I also called him out on conflict of interest. And he said that's not his deal. He would never do that. But Councilman Holden, that's not your decision to make. The voters will make that decision. And I'll leave it at that. I also don't care if I get a recycle. It doesn't have to be every week. It can be once a month, twice a month. That's a savings. I'm good with that. My other topic is what everybody else is talking about, the Utah Renewable Communities. That has to be. Please give us the option to opt out. That says it all. I mean, we need to be in that program. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Alan Mark.
Good evening. Let me first begin by saying, Councilmember Hyland and Councilmember Newell, if people could listen to your ending statements, I think we would be in a better community state. The city made a decision to create an off-leash dog park, Ferguson. It's on a narrow strip of land. It's got a short trail, and it's next to a busy highway. It's not easy to get to, and there's no open field to throw a ball at the dog, for the dog. Other than that, it's a perfect park. So people go to other parks and they use them to allow their dogs to go off leash, but unfortunately that creates its own set of issues with dog attacks and people who might be afraid of dogs or people who just don't want to have dogs going around them. And so my dog's been attacked twice, and my neighbor's dog down the road has been attacked once. That dog won't even go to that park anymore. There's been a lack of enforcement, even though the sign says that the leash laws are enforced by the city and by the county. But if people did the right thing, that'd be great. Without enforcement, though, it's a lower quality of life. So now let's move on to something a little bit more challenging, and that is the traffic, some of which has been brought up before. There was a Fox 13 report that I was in, as well as several others, that was broadcast in November, and Jared was part of it. Unfortunately, he's not here. And in that, I have not seen any changes in road safety, road design improvement, anything like that. I know there's been a new change, new mayor, and maybe we can get that moving. But I see more reckless drivers, more and more, and I've got the video in my car and just walking across the street, getting to the church. I've got my neighbor over here that likes to walk to the Catholic church, and he fears going through the intersection. He spoke to you some months ago. In that report, there was a traffic expert that was interviewed that said that it's about $5,000 per speed bump. And yet, and that in quotes was chump change for a traffic department. So I understand the police can't be everywhere, but there needs to be more and more enforcement. There are certain areas of the roads that I see, and let me just pick on one. I was on another lane with a police officer going down Fort Union, and a car pulled right in front of him going to the library, Whitmore Library. And he had to slow down, he had to brake, and then he just drove off. So there was no ticketing involved. I don't know what's going on with enforcement, but I will say this. I will say that unless there's more enforcement, the quality of life in the city is going down. The less people that are walking out there because they fear the drivers, and I think it's time, as I've mentioned many times before, more enforcement, and if people do the right thing as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Scott Bracken.
I wrote this down. I should keep it under 3 minutes. But in February of 2005, I was tasked with looking into forming a youth city council in Cottonwood Heights. Our first meeting was in March of that year, and I was made the council liaison and served in that position until January of 2024. Since then, over the last 2 years, my wife and I have continued to serve as advisors. My wife has close to 20 years of service as an advisor as well. In the work session 2 weeks ago, there were a couple of comments made that I would like to address. First, 2024 was only 2 years ago, not 4, and it was misspoken repeatedly during that time. One thing that I learned on my time at the council is that whatever is said becomes a record, even if it's not technically correct. So I'm speaking. I'm sure the council is aware of that discrepancy, but I don't know that much of the general public would be. So I'm here. That's one of the reasons I was here tonight. Second, over the course of my time in service, the goal for the YCC has always been to serve, learn, and develop relationships amongst the students in and about the city. Our service projects are of benefit to the city. Our education meetings are focused on Cottonwood Heights government and city issues, not county, state, federal, or world issues. Those can be dealt with in plenty of other groups. Occasionally over the years, I've had to speak up during planning meetings to keep that focus. We've not ever been a sponsor of activism, just service. I'm sure there have been students that have disagreed with me over the years. For the most part, those that felt that the YC wasn't meeting their needs simply stopped coming. I certainly did not expect any to come and accuse me of fighting with them. Such was never the case from my perspective. We have always tried to be inclusive with our membership. I think we have been successful. We, of course, have superior, energetic students that excel in school and most aspects of their lives. We have also had average students that simply want to be involved. So long as they're willing to serve and participate, we have welcomed them. That has even included at least one that became homeless during their time on the youth city council and used the relationships there to just feel a little more normal. Similar, when we have students, we have had students that have gone on to graduate degrees at local schools and at Ivy League schools. 20 years ago, Facebook was a thing, and I'm still Facebook with some of those friends with some of them and see how their lives have progressed. We've also had quite a few that never considered any type of post-secondary education or training, but pursued it after seeing some of the options that were brought up from city employees and others. One more paragraph, if that's okay. I think the goals of the charter of the YCC are great, but obviously there are always things that can be improved. I've committed with Council Member Highland, the current liaison, to fix that and get things up to speed. Said she'd work on the city code. And there's another comment, a timer down there that would group the students together is an awesome idea. I don't know what the solution is, but I'm sure it can be done. It could actually be done other places. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Hadfield.
Good evening. Mayor Benyon, how are you tonight? Good. I work at Brighton High School. I'm on the community council. I teach government. Yeah, and so now I get to be in the middle of what I teach. Many of the students here tonight have just finished a simulation. Their class created a platform or a party. They have a candidate. The other class has a platform and a candidate, and they're going to run against each other. And I'm cordially inviting you both, all of you, to our May 6th presidential election in the auditorium over here at 6:30 p.m. Love to have you. I am here at the request of the Community Council, just to mention our experience with the crosswalk, once again at Butler. I have personally almost hit students, and I would love to make sure that we could improve that. I want to make sure we give credit, Mr. Shep. This man has worked very hard and has been to the Community Council over the years. I've been on the Community Council for about 17 or 18 years, and he's done a great job. Thank you. He's done a wonderful job. Beautiful community. What a wonderful place to work. We do feel that a realistic solution might be a timer so that students group together and they cross in mass instead of ones and twos. Those lights flash. We try to see them. Sometimes that's not enough. If we get them to group, cars can get through. And then when they cross in mass, we think it'd be safer. And that's kind of our consensus as a community council. Want to give a shout out to Council Member Highland. Thank you for bringing the matter before the council. So good of you to hear our voice. Thank you so much. And with that, I think I'll yield my time to, may I? You want to talk? I have to ask, can I yield my time
You
to
have
Ms.
another minute.
Rasmussen?
Oh,
May I quickly request that you give us more information about what you just said on May 6th? Could
Oh.
you send it to the city or get in touch with me?
So May 6th is our mock election, presidential election. It will be at 6:30 p.m. in the auditorium at Brighton High School. Anyone 18 years or older is invited to come and cast a vote to decide who will be our president. Do I have the right to yield my time to Ms. Rasmussen?
yes. Do you want that now? We have a point of privilege.
Just a point of privilege.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you students for being here this evening and learning what you're learning about the processes that take place in an election. It's not everybody that has this opportunity. We constantly look for young people to step into spaces like ours to represent their communities. And I give you all an A. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. I have tried to teach my students how hard it is to do what you're doing. I would never. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Do I have permission to yield to Ms. Rasmussen? I think I had a minute left. Yes, Ms. Rasmussen, you have the floor.
Hello, I'm Bayer Rasmussen. I'm a student at Brighton High School. I'm here because it's my American Problems class and trying to get credit, but also when I heard about the issue, I was interested because I have personally used that crosswalk many times. I used to get dropped off around that neighborhood and cross that street, and also I'm on the track and cross country team, so I run around these neighborhoods all the time. I think I support the initiative to do a timer. I think high school students sometimes have a lack of care for drivers in a way, and high school drivers also have angst and they want to get home fast. I am one of them, like running out to the parking lot. And so having a timer would allow for the flow of traffic to be easier and allow for high schoolers to be in groups. Anyway, thank you for hearing me out, and I appreciate all you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our final card that I have is Rochelle Kaplan. Oh, Randy Long. One more after.
I have to say first, thank you all for your service. I love being a resident of Cottonwood Heights, as does my husband. And I also want to give a shout out to the students at Brighton High School and their wonderful government teacher. I used to, with colleagues at the League of Women Voters, do voter registration and pre-registration there. So nice to see you. I'm calling, I would like to speak on behalf and support of the Utah Renewables Community, Renewable Communities Program. I think it's awesome. Of course, I love the idea of having more data. That's always good, made available to the residents on how effective it's been or what its problems may have been or the slowness in which it's proceeding, perhaps. But Utah has so many wonderful renewable energy sources, solar, wind, geothermal, and as the engineer said, the fossil fuels are not the way to go for the future. And if you look at countries like China, which are way ahead, I'd like to see our community and our state be at the forefront thinking about the future. And I'm also very concerned about air quality, and I think that would help. I have respiratory issues, and I certainly think the program could help. I also have no problem with an opt-out provision. I think it's very simple. And as other people have said, I think our community residents should have a say in if they want to opt out, fine. But I think we should stay in this program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. There was one card that I neglected, and that's Randy Long.
Yes, I'm Randy Long, and I tried to go swimming on the rec center last night, and boy, I had to spend a half hour just trying to find a parking place because of that game they had Brighton High, and I don't know who the other one was, but I think therefore we need to either impose a limit on how many spectators they can have, or we need a bigger parking lot or something like that. And I know if we impose a limit on how many spectators they can have, they might come back and say, all right, you have the Thanksgiving 5K and you have the Butlerville Days and things like that. But the Thanksgiving 5K, Thanksgiving is a national holiday for one thing. Therefore, you're not likely to have anybody else there. And furthermore, there is a limit on as to how many can participate in that. There's a limit of like 2,000, I think it is. So again, we need to do something. Again, either impose a limit like that or, like I said, a bigger parking lot or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for everyone who came to make comments today. We really appreciate everyone that's here and online. And now we'll turn to reports, and we have our finance quarterly report from our finance director, Scott Jurgis.
Would it be inappropriate of me to say that for those of you, it wouldn't be rude if you wanted to leave. The rest of this meeting may not be as exciting for.
I was going to say they get extra credit to stay through there.
But thank you, Brighton students. It is delightful and actually really reassuring to see you here tonight. So thank you for coming.
My ego already takes a hit every time I come up here.
Not that Scott's boring or
Now you've
anything.
invited more people to leave. I tell you, I'm like the Rodney Dangerfield of finance people here.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. let's see. There we go. Okay. So just to go through, this is information to date, more or less. Most of it's through March, but there might be just a little bit of April that's in here potentially. Property tax we have received through April, and so we're sitting right now at $8,316,000. This is our base property tax, not the property tax associated with the general obligation bond, on a budget of $8,322,000. So we're within 6,000 of our budget on that. We will get a little bit more in the next couple of months, but it's just delinquencies, probably maybe 10,000, 15,000 more. So we'll be pretty much right on with our budget at the end of that. And again, just to remind you, our average annual change, not including the year that we did our property tax increase, is about $51,000. So we don't get a lot of new growth in this area, and all that does come from new growth, all that growth that has been in there. Is there any questions on property tax before I move on?
We're just up here commenting on how very flat that has been.
Yeah, it's very flat. I think when we looked at the details of it from 2018, when we last did our property tax, so 2019 fiscal year, 2018 tax year, the net change in that was under 5%. I think it was 4.5% during that whole time frame. So it is very flat, especially in a community like ours that's not growing. Harriman would see a different story in that and stuff. This is the general obligation bond property tax, excuse me, and this actually includes a little bit of motor vehicle fee in lieu because they kind of assign that out based on that. But our budget is $1,314,000, and we've collected a little bit more than $1,400,000 on that, so we have enough to be able to make our debt service payments on the general obligation bond with that. And that's the first year that we've had that. Going into next year, I think our payment drops a little bit down to $1,311,000, so pretty much the same moving forward.
So do what we collect, is this supposed to equal the payment on the bond?
In theory, yes, but it never will because there's both, they base it off of a collection rate, and it's usually around 97-ish% area. So if we collect 98%, we'll collect a little more. If we collect 96%, we'll collect a little less. And that gets trued up on a rolling average each year. And so you're always kind of chasing your tail a little bit on different things. And like I said, this actually includes a little bit of motor vehicle fee in lieu of that kind of comes as a result of the property tax. And so it's not an exact science where you're going to get $1 for every dollar that you have to pay out, but it's close.
Were you expecting that fee in lieu to be part of this?
We know that a little bit, but how it works, we have to set it at what our debt service rate is, and our debt service is that $1,314,000. So we set it there. The motor vehicle fee in lieu is a little murky in terms of how it comes in, but we end up getting a little bit of extra in there as a result of that. This is the motor vehicle fee in lieu of, and this is kind of a good example of it. We didn't do any tax increases or anything between 24 and 25, yet we saw a relatively large gain in motor vehicle fee in lieu of. I can't really tell you why it went up that much. Is it possible that people bought a lot of cars at that time? Yeah, it's possible, but I don't necessarily think that that was the case. And then if you look at this year, we're seeing things drop. We're about 25,000 behind the prior year. Again, I don't really know why. I mean, maybe new cars aren't being bought because it is an age-based, fee that's on that. So as cars are older, you'll, collect a little bit less and stuff. But why you would have such changes year over year, it doesn't really make a lot of sense as you look at that. Our budget is $325,000, so we are going to collect more than our budget because we're sitting at $407,000. I don't anticipate that we'll collect a lot more in this as we close out the year. So we'll be a little behind last year's collections, but above our budget.
I'm going to ask a general question. Each of these slides, because thank you for sending it out to us, or Jared did earlier today. You have at the top of this, you have a percentage at percentage. What is a percentage of what?
So 125% of the budget has been collected at 75% of the year. Now, you can see that collections are not equal in some of these revenue sources. Property tax back here is a definite one. Let's see. We'll go to this one. You collect almost all of your property taxes in November, December, and January, like probably at least 90% in those months. So when you're looking at collections, some we are backlogged, and because the motor vehicle fee is based on an annual basis, we're more or less done at this point in time, unless there's a delinquency, which there can be delinquencies because somebody doesn't register their car in time. But for the most part, our collections are largely done. And the reason why the first month of the year, July, is a lot is because all the collections from January through June are booked into July, basically for the current year registrations and things. So we generally collect most of our funds through, you can see that October is the yellow, and the green right here where I've got the cursor, that's the end of the fiscal year. And the remaining items that we're collecting is delinquencies and things along those lines. And it's hard to tell who's registering their cars late. And there's a little bit of a lag with the state tax commission in terms of getting it, because if somebody registers their car December 31st, we may not get the distribution until January or February from that registration and different things. And so it's kind of a little bit murky how that all occurs, and we can't really predict a lot of that stuff.
I don't mean to let my blonde come through it very often, but I still don't understand percentage of what? 125% is a percent of what?
Of the budget. So
As of the 2026 budget.
So 407,000.
So we're 25% ahead.
25 would be 125%. Yeah, we're ahead of budget, but we're behind 25,000 behind the prior year.
So 125% is comparing to the 2026 budgeted amount, and 75% is?
75% is the year, because, well, really March, really. If you
Okay,
will.
and what throws me off is that in future, the other slides, it's saying 58.33%, which means we're not just 75% of the year.
Yes, and that's going to depend on collections, because when we go to sales tax, for instance, this is, and I put April on this, and I shouldn't have put April. This is actually, you see that the last month collected here that we have reporting is January, and I mislabeled this one. It's just through sales through January, because we're 2 months behind in our sales tax collections at all times. And so we're always kind of running in arrears when it comes to sales tax collections. It's not quite 2 months. It's about 1 month and 21 days, or 1 month and 22 days that we're actually behind. So in the case of this one, 58% of the year has lapsed from an actual collection perspective. We're sitting at 57.9%, but again, collections don't always come in evenly. Your November and December typically are higher months, and then also your months coming into the summer of May, June, and July are also larger months as well. So we'll expect some of the, things, to be a little bit better there. So it's not alarming that we're a little bit behind at 57% versus 58% of the year being elapsed. And I think a better measure of that is that we're 185,000 ahead of where we were at 2025 at the same collection period. And I think that's a better way to kind of measure this, because there's kind of two ways to look at all the different collections of revenues, especially when it comes to sales taxes and property taxes.
So let me say it in the way I think I can understand. We are at 57.9% of our 2026 budget at 58.33% through the year.
Yes. Yep. And we're about 185 ahead of the prior year. The prior year, we were just under 9.2 million. So I think we're on track to be at or near our 9.5 million. It's going to be pretty close. So that would be my other comment with that. The county option highway sales tax. So this one, we get the point of sale 50%, and then 50% comes from just the population in the county. And because this is not shared throughout the whole state, this is limited to just the county. So the distributions are a little bit different on this particular one than it is on the other tax, mainly due to the distribution only being within the county. So this one, we're at 59.88% at 58.33. And I'll try and remember that in the past. I was hurrying to do this yesterday. I've been having my sights set a little bit on the budget for the next year, and I omitted that. Anyhow, but we're 19,000 ahead of what we had collected in 2025. You can kind of see that growth here. So I would guess we'll probably be maybe up in, 830, 840 range when we finish the year, which will put us a little bit ahead of what our budget is. And that's a good thing. I'd rather, end up being a little ahead than a little behind in that. The next slide is a very similar one where it's the county local transit sales tax. We don't have prior years to compare to because this was a new one. We collected about 18,000 in the prior year. That was just kind of timing of when it started to get collected and things. I'm not exactly sure why that actually occurred. But anyhow, we're sitting at about 248,000 year to date. If we do the math, literally taking the number of months that we've collected, or the total collections divided by the number of months times 12, it shows it will be maybe about 424,000. We do know that typically May and June are a little higher, so we might be a little higher than that by the time we get to the end of the year, but we should be slightly ahead of the 400,000 that we've got budgeted for this particular sales tax. The next one item is the transient room tax. And so transient room tax, again, this is going to follow the sales tax collections. So we're at 55.66% of our budget has been collected at 58.33% of the year. We're about 10,000 behind our last year. But if you kind of correlate this one a little bit more to the ski season, because our big months are the ski months, if you look in the past and things, the ski season wasn't quite what we all expected the ski season to be this year and could have had some effects on that revenue. I don't know that for absolute sure, but from my experience as a skier, I would say that probably is reflective of that. But we'll probably be pretty close to 180. If we're a little shy, we're going to make up for it with some of the other sales tax revenues. We're probably going to be a little ahead. The municipal energy tax, this is a tax based on the amount of your bill. And so if your bill is $100, it's whatever the percentage times that bill. So as individual rates of either power or natural gas go up or down, that will affect us. Or as we experience either a mild winter or a heavy winter. And we all know, again, we had a very mild winter. So that will affect this, and we're about 30,000 behind our past year, where we were a little bit ahead of where we are this year, moving forward. I think that there was also a rate cut. That's what affected us from 24 to 25. We saw a little bit of a rate cut that affected some of that collection, and we've tried to kind of estimate where we're going to be on that. We're hoping that we come out, maybe we're going to be about between 2.3 and 2.4 by the end of the year, if I was going to guess. Again, some of that's going to depend also on the collections as we go into the future months here, because if it gets hot, again, with power rates comes that same tax. And so if it gets hot, we'll probably see a little bit of a collection on that, and seeing 80-degree temperatures in, April and March kind of shows that maybe we will. Not necessarily a good thing, except for from a financial perspective. So any questions on that one? Okay. The next item is the cable TV revenue. Quarters out of the year at this point in time, we expect to probably receive the other one in the next coming week or so. We're sitting at about 42% of our budget of 300,000 at 50% of the year, 126,000 year to date, 9,000 behind the prior year. So doing the math, we would probably be maybe in the $20,000 behind last year. That would be about 250,000. And we have reduced for the next year the budget of this down to, I believe it's 230,000 as our projection. We tend to maybe between 10 and 20,000 a year. It kind of varies a little bit. You can see the more recent history of this. But this is when we had our legislative meeting, we talked with some of our legislative leaders with the state and emphasized maybe we look at some kind of a data tax that we could do at the local level. However, I was made aware, looking at an article, that there is a sales tax on data. And so to a degree, we're getting some, but it's 1% versus this is, 3.5%. So, be something to consider. Class C roads. So this we get through periods. So our collection area for the year goes from May until April. So right now we're sitting through 8 periods. So we're sitting at 72.67% at 66.67% of the year. Now, just because fuel prices are up right now does not mean we'll collect more money, because it's a volume-based collection based on dollar or per gallon of fuel that is purchased. There's a little bit heavier tax on diesel than there is on gas. Again, we're ahead. We're 92,000 ahead of 2025, which was a little unexpected. I'm not sure exactly what's fueling all of that. We don't get a lot of visibility into this particular revenue, but that's what we know as we're ahead, which from our perspective is good. We'll probably be relatively ahead of this $1.6 million that we have budgeted. I don't know exactly where we'll land at, maybe 1.7, 1.8, somewhere in that range by the time we get to the end of the year. But as gas prices do go up, people likely will try and buy fewer gallons of fuel, and therefore that could affect this revenue if gas prices stay high. So I just say could because you never can tell. And I'm going to flip over to the revenue one. So our revenues, you can look through here and you can see our main months of revenue are November, December, and January. This is the biggest swing of revenues typically of any given year. That's going to be the biggest span of revenues, and that's because that's when we receive our property taxes. And so that's a significant 3 months period of our revenue coming in. And so if you look at that, we're sitting actually about 200,000 ahead of where we were in 2025. Which is a good thing. And we're moving forward. Remember, we didn't have huge increases in either our property taxes from a budget perspective year over year, or in our sales taxes year over year. So that's pretty good that we're sitting at that position. Most of that's going to be reflective in our sales tax revenue that we've predicted going forward. But I'm not concerned that we're not going to hit overall revenue numbers for the year for us. Any questions?
Sorry, I do have another question.
Yeah.
So I kept up with you, and I took every time you said plus or minus, I wrote it down and I did a quick calculation excluding the GeoBond. I didn't have that a calculation. And it was 246,000 ahead of 2025. So are there just other things that are considered?
I mean, a lot of it's probably in our licenses and fees and stuff. And I could add a section of, kind of showing where we are in a trend of licenses and fees. That's another area where we'll get different things that would include like building permits and business licenses and, other different things like that. That's a category within our budget. And I did, in our new budget projections for next year, I increased that section by 107,000 to get to more of a normal from past trends of what we've been receiving revenue wise. We were probably under budget in that, like I said, by about 100,000 in years past. And so I tried to estimate that going forward, a little bit conservative, but still put it a little bit more where we'll realistically see that. So that's going to be one area. I can't remember off the top of my head where we're sitting with interest revenue right now. So I can't remember if that's a plus or minus. So anyhow. And then our expense trend, we're currently sitting about 292,000 ahead of our past year. And I would say this is actually a very good thing. It's a higher amount of percentage that we're ahead, or higher dollar amount that we're ahead of the prior year in terms of with revenue. Revenue were about 200,000 ahead, expenses were about 300,000 ahead, but there was a relative, I would say, larger increase in terms of the gap between our expenses and our revenues, because we've been budgeting at a deficit level for a number of years, and that expense has grown, or that difference has grown to the point where we are sitting right now at about roughly $2.7 million of net deficit built into our budget. And so as you look at this, and when we're only 292,000 ahead in spending of what we were last year, I'm going to kind of toot our horn a little bit, saying we've been really trying to keep our expenditures down across the board in all areas that we can, to try and, not spend money when we can, and, be proactive as much as possible in a lot of that. So I think we're sitting in a pretty good position. I mean, there's still deficit spending, but I don't think it's as bad as it could have been based on the budget. I think we're in a little bit better shape than where we could have as we move forward. Our budgeted, I can't remember our budgeted ending fund balance, but it's around, I don't know, $3.4 million or something like that in the general fund. And I think we'll be closer to 4 million, maybe even upwards a little bit of that, based on some of the positive revenues that I'm seeing and the limits that I'm seeing in some expenditures. So
Some of that due to our cuts in staff that we've taken.
it would be, that's a little bit more recent that some of that's come in, so it will incrementally fall in over time. But some of that, yes, will be affected by that. But overall, just through the years, I think, or through the year, I think most of the department heads have been pretty good at, kind of really being cautious about how their spending's going. Also, just the winter being relatively mild, there was not a lot of snow days, and that was a positive for us in terms of, some of the snow operations costs that we typically have, both in terms of labor and in terms of salt that we had to purchase, and that probably fuel as well. So that's a positive for us from a financial perspective. So any other questions? I'm done with what I've got anyhow.
I guess, do you have any red flags that we should be aware of?
Not at this time. I didn't see anything that was, out of the way. I think we'll probably be, last year we were really close. We didn't have as much underexpend, and I think we'll have a little more underexpend this year from the reasons that I had already talked about. Our revenues are pretty much on track to be right close to where they're budgeted, maybe just a little bit above where they're budgeted. So I think we'll, like I said, our budget shows our ending fund balance. I think it's 3.4 million, and I think we'll probably be somewhere between 4 million and maybe 4.3 or 4.4, somewhere in that range by the end of the year.
I'll take that any day. That's really good news. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we'll move on to our action items. We have 5 of those. We have first is 6.1, consideration of ordinance 463, approving a second driveway exception on 1720 East, 6670 South. And we reviewed this in our work session. Is there any further comment from staff? Okay. Then I'm ready for a motion.
A motion to approve ordinance 463.
Second.
Okay, then we'll take a vote. I will vote yes. And Councilmember Newell?
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Highland?
Yes.
And Councilmember Holton?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us. Councilmember Holton is in Washington, D.C., and we appreciate him sticking with us. It must be getting quite late there.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yes. And next we have consideration of Resolution 2026-23, approving First Amendment to Agreement for Building Services. And this is regarding the city's entry into the amendment to current agreement for a First Amendment to current agreement for building services for Sunrise Engineering that provides plan review and building inspection services to the city. Do we have any further comments from staff on this item?
I guess I should have asked in the work session, but is the only thing that's changing to this contract the term, the extension of the term?
Yes, that's true. Well, Shane, I guess you can win.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will welcome a motion at this point.
I'll make the motion to accept resolution 2026-23.
I'll second.
Okay. And then I will take a vote. Councilmember Holton,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember, oh my goodness. This must be a typo. We have your name, Scott Bracken. Councilmember Highland.
AKA Scott Bracken, yes.
It literally says that. You're permanent in our city. And I also will vote yes. Okay, there's a typo. Okay, and then we have resolution 2026-24, consenting to reappointments to the Agricultural Review Commission. And we also had a brief discussion of this in our work session. Are there Architectural Review Commission? Is there any comment from staff further?
No, this is just reappointing two current members that have served for a while, so we appreciate their dedication to the city.
Is this term limited? Okay.
It's not, so they can serve as long as we'd like, so it's not term limited.
Okay, with no further comments, I'm ready for a motion. I welcome a motion.
Oh, I'll motion to approve resolution 2026-24 to reappoint these two members to the Architectural Review Commission.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And I will take a vote. Representative Newell,
Yes.
Council Member Highland,
Yes.
Council Member Holton,
Yes.
and Council Member Burrell.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Then our next one is consideration of resolution 26-25, declaring certain property surplus. And this is designating the method of disposition of a Ford F-150 vehicle owned by our city. Thank you. This is, sorry, too many papers. Okay. Is there any further comments from staff on this item?
Mayor, this vehicle is in the police department. It's an excess vehicle we no longer need and would like to surplus it and return the money to the city.
Thank you.
It does go back to rightfully to the police budget, correct?
Yeah, what you have to appropriate it as such.
Oh, we have to, okay.
Okay. At this point, I would welcome a motion.
We are a little bit, we have a lot going on today. I will move to approve resolution 2026-25, declaring certain property surplus.
I'll second.
Okay, and I will take a vote on that. Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Highland,
Yes.
and Councilmember Holton.
Yes.
And I also will vote yes. Finally, we have Resolution 2026-26. And this is approving entry into an interlocal agreement with the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands for participation in the Wildland Fire Program, which I am highly in favor of. So is there any other comment from staff?
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 2026-26, approving entry into an interlocal agreement with the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands for participation in the Wildland Fire Program.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I will go ahead and take a vote. Councilmember Holton,
Yes.
Councilmember Highland,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
and Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. That concludes the action items, and we are ready to move to the consent calendar, which is approval of the minutes for the City Council work session and business meetings of March 3rd, 2026, and the Mayor and Council retreat on March 24th, 2026.
I'll motion to accept all the meeting minutes.
I'll second that motion.
This is a voice vote. So all in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then we approve the minutes, and I'm ready for a final motion.
I will motion that we adjourn this productive city council business meeting and express gratitude for all those who came to participate today. It was a very civil and very, I think, uplift meeting.
I'll
Thank
second.
Thank you. Have a good evening, and we adjourn this meeting.